Hey YouTube, Untamed here. So today I wanted to take a few minutes and show you guys my new rock sliders, side steps that I put on the Land Cruiser Heritage Edition here. Before we do that, let's do a puppy dog feature. Hi Zozo. Hi Zozo. Oh, and Z getting into the shot. Hi Bogers. Hi buddy. Hi. Hi. Okay, enough of that. So, rock sliders. I ended up going with Slee Offroad formed rock sliders. I'll show you the brand up here. You can see their little stamp there. So definitely, sorry, the Land Cruiser is a bit filthy right now. Definitely super durable. They are absolute tanks. I would argue, 110 plus pounds on each of the sides here. Super robust, extremely durable. Yeah, I especially like these the grip plates that come with them. I think these are pretty sleek. We'll pop over to the other side. I'll give you a better look underneath. This is kind of a side profile. They definitely hang down, but really not too bad. All right, let's try to peek underneath. Okay. So these ended up taking me admittedly way too long. I've installed a number of rock sliders and side steps, like 10-12 sets just over the last few years, really, between my vehicles and my friends' vehicles. So I'm pretty, I don't know, I'm pretty well conditioned with actually installing these. However, these were by far the biggest headache. And I'll kind of get into that here in a few minutes and explain why these turned into be quite the chore. But like I said, super durable, and they're absolutely going to do what they're intended for and do it well. So no complaints in that regard. I'll show you real quick. These are the RSG sliders that I have on the 4Runner here. I've had them on for maybe about 4 or 5 months. I have another video posted of these if you want to check those out. Welcome to Wyoming. Alright, so I do have a video of these posted. Personally, I like these better. I think they're just a better, I don't know. And I can't say that because obviously they're both, they're intended for off-road use and helping you out when you're in a bind, if you get hung up on rocks or whatever. That's the entire intent, and I'm sure both of them do an equally good job at that. However, these, they're just so much more straightforward, and it might just be because this is for the 4Runner, and the 4Runner at large is just a much more popular vehicle. So you just see, because of that, there's a lot more tutorials online, a lot more tips and tricks out there, if you will. So I think that's a part of it too. Let me show you underneath. So you can already tell, maybe you can, let's see. So it was super straightforward. So all of this, from here all the way up until this whole plate all the way across the frame, this is all the slider. So extremely straightforward as far as installation goes, right? You just have this huge piece of metal and you just plug it up against the frame and they start bolting up. The goodness about this one was it didn't require like any additional drilling. You didn't have to make weird adjustments or use stick nuts, which you have to do with the Land Cruiser one there. So this one was 10 times easier, and I appreciate that about this. So obviously I went with the RSG plate on top, which I think looks pretty sleek. Sorry, it's really dirty. and then the grip drilled holes, which are a little a little pointless since we have the slanted version. Kind of see that. And if you guys recall from my previous video, these I accidentally, you guys are gonna think I'm a dummy, but I ended up accidentally ordering the slanted version. But honestly, I'm happy with them, and I don't think I'd have it any other way at this point. And they're still useful when it comes to actually getting into the vehicle. They're still, they still serve as a pretty good little step. So, I don't know, what do you guys think? So the company that I was really leaning with from the start is a company called Budbuilt. And I was leaning with them for a couple of, let me get out of the wind a little bit. And I was leaning with them, or toward them, for a couple of different reasons. For starters, everything I read, and I spoke to, I believe he was the owner, it sounds like just the values of that company are a little bit more in line with what I would appreciate more in a company. For instance, they employ combat vets, which I thought was pretty cool. They definitely support our troops, which I'm always an advocate of that. Whereas Slee Offroad, not the case. So already 1 point down for Slee. And then, like I mentioned, when I called up Slee and I spoke to him on the phone, they're just a little bitter. Not bitter, they're a little, what's the word I'm looking for? I called them up twice before I actually pulled the trigger on them. And each time I spoke with them, they were just, I don't know, maybe arrogant is the word I was looking for. Each time I called them, they're like, well, I mean, you know, if you don't buy it, no worries, somebody's gonna buy it. People always buy our product. We're an in-demand company, if you will. So I didn't like that about them. They didn't really try to earn my business at all. So between all of that and needing to get this. So this is, for those of you who are familiar, this is a rib nut tool. And you absolutely need this when you're installing the sliders on the Land Cruiser. There is an option to get this little bolt, nut and bolt contraption that Slee Offroad will sell in addition to it, but that did not come with the entire slider package at large. So I did not get that when I bought the sliders. But then, you know, if you were to buy the tiny little nut and bolt contraption to actually make it happen, you know, Slee Offroad, they charge you like 40 bucks for it, but everywhere else it's like 10 bucks. So kind of gives you an idea of what their premium is that they charge, a little upcharge. And that's if you were just get the little dinky one. So this right here, I still think it was like $15 or $20 off of Amazon, but you absolutely need it. So, and you need it because you have to install, I think 7 total. Yeah, so 7 total across the side. Let's see if I can show you through there. So you can see that, so that bolt right there, that one or the one immediately above it or below it. I can't tell which one I'm looking at, but there's 2 right there, 1 and 2. You need one right there, and what it requires you to do is to drill into the frame, into a pre-existing hole, fortunately, but you have to drill into the frame and just to make it big enough for the bolts that are supplied, the 3/8 bolts that are supplied for this. And that turns into kind of a little bit more of a stressful thing. And this bolt right here, that's another one where you have to use this rib nut tool. You got to drill it out to make it bigger, put in this little rib nut, which is like almost looks like a socket. You plug it in there, and then that is when once you plug the rib nut into it, you'll first plug it into this, but then you plug the whole thing in there, and you start squeezing the best you can, and it expands it on the inside, so where the whole entire rib nut cannot be removed, right? And that's the intent behind it. So it's super durable. The mindset behind it is definitely for longevity and, you know, maximum rigidity, I'm sure. But it just served to be a huge huge headache. And for like complete amateurs out there, it will serve to be, I don't know, it will definitely be quite the chore. So that out of all of it kind of bothered me the most, right? And then of course the questionable attitude of the sales reps at Slee I didn't like. But Budbuilt, I'm not sure if I mentioned this earlier, forgive me if I did, but Budbuilt sliders, they had a 10-week backlog. So I had to wait, which as you guys know, as you can maybe pick up by now, I'm pretty impatient when it comes to like putting on new tires and all that stuff. A 10-week backlog of waiting to actually get it. And even though I much preferred to go through Budbuilt, I did not want to wait that long, especially since, you know, I'm moving here in about a couple months, a month and a half. You know, I wanted to be able to have these on before we kind of take our road trip across the nation. So, and then the final thing I want to show you guys, we'll kind of pan out one more time, give you a clean shot of it. The final thing I wanted to show you, back in here, are the directions. So here, actually, before I do that, so here are, these are the rib nuts. So as you can see, kind of look like shotgun shells a little bit, mini ones. You plug them in, well, first you zip them on here, all the way to the end, and then you plug the whole thing into the hole on the frame that you already drilled out to actually fit the thing, right? And then you start squeezing, and then even the squeezing of it to actually make it work is a super chore in and of itself. All right, so the final thing I want to mention was these directions. These are so bad, so bad. All right, so, and not to mention, because yeah, not too many people have the 200 series at large. There's just not a whole lot of like online tutorials, and a lot of the folks who do have like the new 200 series, they tend to be old, right? And they don't upload videos on YouTube or anything. So there is not a whole lot of instruction for it. So I found myself trying to rely on these notes here, and even these required me to do a lot of guesswork. So not impressed with this. So you get the, of course, all the part list right here. So this, I found this like to be the most helpful thing on the entire thing. It's like the only picture that actually has where it says where the back is, back of the slider. Hey Peanut, Peanut feature. How's it going? What you doing? Thank you, Peanut, I love you. All right. So yeah, I found this to be the most useful thing because it actually says what size the front and what size the rear. So you can tell, even just by looking at the pictures by themselves, they're really up close and personal, and it just requires you to do a lot of guesswork. And to add insult to injury a little bit, these instructions are, you can kind of see it at the top there, they're for both the LX 570 as well as the 200 series, right? So that added its own little complications to things, because at some sections it tells you, try to show you, see if there's a example right here. Yeah, right here. So it says, for the 200 series, see appendix step 11, page 10 and 11 for different steps. So like you just constantly find yourself zipping to the back, okay, well where's appendix 10? Okay, here's the appendices back here. They go, okay, well, we're step 10. Okay, then I've got to go back here to step 10 or step 12. You just find yourself zipping back and forth. So bottom line, these were poorly done, in my opinion. And if you are a complete amateur, this is probably not going to work out for you. It's going to turn into a 4-day adventure. So for those reasons, all those reasons, I don't think I would recommend Slee Offroad. And if there was not a 10-week wait, I would absolutely have gone with Budbuilt, like I mentioned to you, just because they just seem like the better company as far as having good values, you know, supporting troops. I think that's a huge thing, stuff like that. So we'll wrap up with one more close look, and then we'll wrap it up. So definitely durable, definitely robust. As you can tell, I do like I mentioned, I love these, you know, the grip inserts on top. And let me show you real quick too, what it looks like when you're getting into it. So, not a huge step by any means, but still, you know, it makes it a ton easier. And again, when you have a 5'0" wife, it is super helpful for loading up the kiddos back here. So there you have it. Overall, I know I sound a little bitter about it, and I am, but overall I am definitely happy with how it turned out. I think it looks great. Definitely looks fitting for the vehicle, and I'm sure they'll prove useful someday. Not to mention, at very least, and I know this is not the reason to get them, but at very least, you know, it's going to prevent me kicking up rocks all the time onto the side of the vehicle here, which I always kind of like it for that reason. So just something else to consider. All right, guys. Well, I will wrap up the video there. I appreciate you watching as always. Until next time.
Bye.
Say bye, Peanut.
Bye, bye.
All right. Until next time, guys.
Mommy.